Hi, my name is Jeannie Whalen. I'm the Global Training and Organizational Development Specialist here at the Siemon Company, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the first ever episode of our new external podcast called Network Connections, the podcast about ICT networks produced by Siemon. Today on our show, I'm pleased to be joined by our fearless leader, Carl Siemon, the president and CEO of the Siemon Company for over 38 years. How are you today, Carl?
Hi, Jeannie. I'm doing well as I can in this weird new COVID-19 world we're living in. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm working from home. I'm happy that we have this technology so that we can make this connection. Today, I was hoping that we could talk through your history with the Siemon Company and later touch on how the Siemon Company has been helping in the fight against this coronavirus pandemic here in the United States and across the globe. So, Carl, you're the fourth generation of Carl Siemens to serve as president, CEO, and chairman of the board at the Siemon Company during its 117-year history. What is your first recollection of the Siemon Company, and what age did you start working for the company?
My first memory of the company was in August of 1955. I was 4 years old, and Connecticut had just experienced the worst flood in its history. And after the storm, my dad took me with him to the factory, and as we went through the door, I remember seeing lots of cardboard boxes floating around because the factory floor was under about 2 feet of water. And my father put me into one of these boxes and gave me a stick so I could push myself around like a little gondolier. Well, he went to help others salvage, what materials they could. So floating around the factory in my little cardboard boat was my first memory. And then 12 years later, when I was 16, I started my first job as an apprentice mold maker. That was during summer vacation. I remember the first payday, there were 2 armed guards, and they went from department to department, pushing a cart full of envelopes filled with cash. So no paychecks in those days. It was cash and a pay stub. And I worked with some real characters that summer and have some good memories of those times. So maybe material for a future podcast, Jeannie.
That's an amazing first memory. And I imagine the 2 armed guards would really also stick into your mind.
They did.
At what age did you take over as president and CEO?
I was 31.
31. Okay. And who owns the Siemon Company?
There are 4 shareholders. Myself, my sister Cindy does an amazing job managing our family tree farm, which you can check out by Googling Branch Hill Farm. The third shareholder is my brother John, who's our family engineer and our company CTO, vice president of operations, and he's responsible for all of our global factories, our supply chain, and overseeing our participation in multiple industry standards organizations. John does a great job in all those areas. And the fourth shareholder is my brother CK, who is the president of our GPS division. That's Global Project Services. GPS is a one-stop shop for our multinational customers who recognize that there's real value in having high-quality, standardized infrastructure across their remote locations. So we're very fortunate, I think, that all 4 shareholders have complementary strengths and we share the same goals and values.
Absolutely. And as some of our listeners might know, only 3% of family-owned businesses make it to the 4th generation. So why do you think that the Siemon Company is in that small minority?
Well, our recipe, I guess, would be that through the generations, we've of course had ups and downs, but I'd say the common denominators are hard work, being able to reinvent ourselves, and mixed with a measure of luck. Each generation has tried to turn the company over to the next generation in a healthier and stronger condition than when they joined. Just looking back, I think that the hardest time for the company was during the Great Depression in the 20s and 30s, and this experience made us financial conservatives. So the lesson, don't get overextended, don't live beyond your means, avoid borrowing if possible. This mentality's baked into our culture as a result of that experience. Another factor behind, I think, lasting as long as we have is recognizing that sometimes it's necessary to make painful decisions, like reorganizing for the greater good of the company. I think the most important common denominator for all generations throughout the company's history has been a commitment to quality. The Siemon brands, it's all about continuous improvement across all aspects of our business and never being satisfied with the status quo. In fact, the last sentence of our quality policy is, if the process is not broken, break it, make it better. And as long as we stay true to that value, we'll be around for many more years to come.
That's great. I think that a lot of companies, that haven't been around for such a long time have to identify what are the values that make them so unique when they're starting their company. And I think that there's a 117-year history of living by our values here. And I think that really sets us apart from other organizations I've been a part of. So Carl, in October of 2018, you and your family communicated that at the end of this year, 2020, you'll be taking on a different role in the organization and stepping down as president and CEO. Currently, your brother John has transitioned to the chairman of the board, another role that you held for 19 years. What's the organization's plan for the next president and CEO?
My nephew, Henry Siemon, will be taking over my role at the end of this year. And we and the whole company, I think, are very fortunate to have such a well-qualified successor. Henry, he's got a passion for business and for people, and that's a very powerful combination. After getting his MBA from MIT, he was recruited by Deloitte. Then a few years later, he joined Apple, where he learned a ton about supply chain management, and then he was recruited by us. And since he's joined, he's been exposed to pretty much every aspect of the business. And he's been able to add value and solve problems in a very level-headed, rational way. And so I'm looking forward to working with Henry and for Henry come 2021.
It's exciting to see you and your brothers come together to support your nephew in a way that really sets him up for success. I mean, he's the next leader of the organization. I know he's going to be terrific. And with your support, with John and CK and Cindy, it's really beautiful to see how you guys come together as a family. And speaking of family, it's a crazy time we're living through right now. As you mentioned, there's so much going on. And as an essential business, we're doing our best to keep our supply chain and our factories up and running. But first and foremost, how are you and your family doing? You've got a brilliant wife, Beth, and your 3 children who are all married, all adult children, and 2 grandchildren, and the adorably large dog that just is the cherry on the sundae. Is everyone safe and healthy right now?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Gene. Yeah, the kids and Beth, we're all healthy. We're spread around the country in California, Ohio, Connecticut, and Florida, but we stay close thanks to technology. Last week, we had a scare with Luna, our dog. She's a 10-year-old English Mastiff. She's having some trouble walking. So here, the vet's offices are all closed because of the virus. So we had our first telemedicine experience, and the vet did a 10-minute live video exam. And after that, she wrote a script, and now Luna's back in action.
Wow.
It was faster, safer, less expensive than an office visit. So, telecom infrastructure in action, and we're we're going to see a lot more telemedicine for people and pets, I think, in the future.
I agree. I had a recent telemedicine session myself, and I agree with you. It was quick and easy and was definitely the safer option. So it's nice to see people who didn't have that in place working to get it up and running. So, do you want to tell people that are listening what the Siemon Company is doing today to try to help keep our employees and our customers safe during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Sure, Gene. We're following government guidelines in all the countries where we operate, and we're communicating updates to our people as often and as quickly as we can. Our IT team at headquarters has done a great job supporting our work at home community, and our VPN is handling the extra workload with no problem at all. We are taking every precaution we can to keep our people safe at all our factories and service centers, and we really appreciate everyone who's showing up for work, keeping our supply lines and production lines flowing to give our customers what they need. Healthcare is and has been for a long time one of our strongest markets. Hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, government, and university research centers, they all depend on us. And let me give you some examples. One of the nation's leading hospitals and medical research centers had an urgent need for temporary network expansion to support COVID cases, and we delivered. The factory that is building the new COVID-19 rapid tester runs on Siemon connectivity. A leading university on Long Island is being converted into a temporary COVID-19 hospital by the Army Corps of Engineers. They needed to quickly expand their network to support collaborating organizations like FEMA, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, and other emergency response teams, and we delivered. One of the leading manufacturers of respirators had an urgent need to support expansion of their ventilator production lines, and we delivered. The hospital that is delivering the first experimental plasma treatment against COVID-19 is running on Siemon connectivity. A global medical device manufacturer in Germany had a problem with their security system, and their security system provider was shut down for 3 weeks because of the virus. So millions of dollars of medical inventory was at risk. Our Siemon GPS division stepped up and restored internet connectivity so the customers' IT specialists were able to remotely fix their security system, get it back up and running. Last Friday, we received a message from the IT department of a nationwide hospital telling us that they've expanded the use of our products from their hospital campus into the homes of their frontline heroes, the doctors, nurses, and essential staff that are fighting the COVID virus. It's important to the hospital to provide, during these times, robust, high-performance home networks for their key staff. We're also doing all we can to support the local hospitals near our headquarters in Watertown, using 3D printing to make face shields, and we've donated all of our own emergency supply of N95 masks to local hospitals. So I guess to sum it up, I'm very, very proud of what our people have been doing to support these and other essential services and customers.
That's great, Carl. I think that something we also did that I'm not sure if you're aware of is we donated sandwiches from the franchise Jersey Mike's to some of our area hospitals as well. Just, you know, pre-wrapped sandwiches that these people that are on the front lines in the ICU, in the emergency room can eat to recharge themselves, to serve them not only with our products, but also with food, which is one of the best love languages you can give someone.
No, I wasn't aware of that, Gene. That's great to know.
Yeah, I think it absolutely goes to our core values of being a family company and, you know, treating these people with the utmost respect. We've really seen firsthand that this crisis is pulling our teams together. Is there any advice that you want to give our employees or our customers, anyone else listening during this unprecedented time?
Yeah, I say follow the advice of our doctors and scientists, not the politicians.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I believe that making time to exercise every day, if possible, it's really important to keep your immune system strong and help relieve stress during this stressful time. Do things that make you feel good. Try not to let the stress rule your mind. Music works for me. Music and exercise are a great combination. Keep in mind, too, that this is not the first pandemic the human race has faced. Today, we have the advantage of science and technology that was not even dreamed about when the last pandemic hit 100 years ago. And we will get through this. Just keep that in the front of your mind.
I think that's great advice. And I think everybody feels a little bit differently. Some people feel more angry. Some people feel sad. Some people feel worried. I think it's okay to feel whatever you feel, right? No one is an expert on how to handle such a crisis, but I think we're just all doing the best that we can. So anything else you'd like to mention to any of our listeners today?
No, just working together and supporting each other and you know, being a mutually supportive team. I think that's what we all need to do these days.
I agree. We need each other now more than ever. Well, that's all for today's episode of Network Connections, the podcast about ICT networks produced by Siemon. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Carl for joining me. Join us again next time when we talk to CK Siemon, Carl's brother, the president of the GPS division here at the Siemon Company, where we'll get into his history with the company and how his team is helping to fight against the COVID-19 crisis. Make sure you subscribe to the Siemon Company YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. And from all of us here at the Siemon Company, we hope that you and your family are staying healthy and safe during these uncertain times. Hang in there and remember to take it one day at a time.